The problem there is most likely your systems, because you're running that $1 million business on $750,000 systems. So you've maxed out those systems. You actually need, and this is the crazy part, this is the business coaching part, folks. You don't need to go to $1 million systems anymore. You need to take that $750,000 system and imagine it as a $3 million business so you can pull yourself through that next bottleneck.
Welcome to Jobbers Masters of Home Service, a podcast for home service pros by home service pros. We are in sunny Las Vegas. Today we're talking about business coaches' strategies for big growth from 400,000 to 2 million. I'm Adam Sylvester. Today's guest is Don Rubino. He is well known for the Profit Toolbelt podcast. He's a business coach. He's an author. Don, welcome to the show.
I am so glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too.
Yeah, it's exciting. This is a fantastic studio.
Yeah.
Crazy.
A lot of our listeners are in that $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 revenue mark, and they don't want to stay there. There's not a whole lot of money there to be made in terms of profit, and so that we need to get them out of that rut, so to speak, and get them into 2 million, right?
Right.
How do they do that? Let's hit some of these bullet points. Let's talk big picture here, and let's talk little picture.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I want to do, first, congratulate anybody who's already doing, let's say, 300,000 in sales.
Totally.
Because they probably started at zero. And everything they did in their lives was just by sheer brute strength to get to 300 grand or even $1 million. It takes a lot. Can I give you a very funny visual of what that looks like? You know, every 4 years we've got the Summer Olympics, right? So imagine the big weightlifter that comes up and there's a ridiculous bar with ridiculous weights on the end, and he comes out in this awkward leotard, right? You know,
Right.
hair everywhere. And,
Yeah.
and he lifts this massive bar with weights up over his head, and everybody claps. They're like, oh, that was crazy. Yeah, that's you. That's the business owner who just built it to 300, 400, 500, $1 million. Because just by sheer brute strength, you got that business over your head. But what starts to happen?
Yeah.
You can't hold it there forever. And so I think the short story here is, as long as you start working smarter, truly working smarter, you'll get to the next level.
Yeah. The power lifter gets to put it down.
Yeah.
The business owner doesn't.
No.
And it can crush them if they're not ready for it.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting you say that. So what does a business coach do? We show people how to put systems in place, which in powerlifting would be a rack.
Yeah.
So the
Right,
lifter puts
exactly.
the rack on, and then everybody sits back and goes, I
Yeah.
bet we can get that higher.
One more thing on encouraging our listeners, because they persuaded, if someone's doing $300,000 in revenue, they persuaded that many people to give them money to do a service. That is not an easy thing to do.
It's not easy.
And
You have
so,
to add a lot of value
yeah.
to the world.
Yeah. Okay, so how does vision, let's talk big picture here. What does the vision of your company look like? How do you coach someone into knowing what their vision is and then how to actually implement it into their business?
You know, so that's something that actually is internally. It comes inside the business owner, because we're not right for every business owner. Not everybody wants to grow. Some are happy doing 300. Let's just keep using 300 grand as the number. But the ones that want more, they already know they want more, but they might not know how to get there. And so vision is really an important part of doing that. And this is a really simple exercise. People can do this on a piece of paper. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You just sit down and write down how old you are. Write down how old your wife is. Use her real age. Write down how old your kids are if you have kids. Write down if you own your building or not. And then just say, well, here I am today. What's it going to look like in 3 years? What's the age of my wife going to be in 10 years? What's the age of my children going to be in 10 years? And you're going to start to see what you'll need to do as a leader of your family to provide for that. Heck, if you really want to put an exclamation mark on this, write down the ages of your parents. That's what we're working towards.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like how you said it's really internal. I think this is where some people get caught up though, is because they might be so technician minded that they really get passionate about doing the work, the shoulder down stuff, right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is but the vision really is more than just the work. The vision is, why are you on your own? Why are you not working for someone else?
What's my why? We call it, what is my why? Why am I doing this? What am I trying to achieve? So I'm either running towards something or I'm running away from something. And I don't know everybody's answer, but what is it you're working towards, or what is it you're trying to get away from? You know, how many times have you heard, I started this business because my last boss was a dum-dum.
Right.
You know, so I just wanted to show him. And by the way,
now you're the dum-dum.
now I'm the dum-dum. Yeah. But how many people decided they were going to go out and show somebody? He laid me off all the time. I was working 2 weeks out of 4. I thought I can go do this myself. And now here they are. So, but that vision, you have to get to that point where you realize you need something more. And that's where coaching comes in play. We show people how to set up a vision that's realistic, but it's based on the money you want to make, the profit you need to make, the time you want to have. What kind of team do you want to build? What are your values?
Mm-hmm.
You know, vision is one thing, but what are your values? A lot of people have very strong faith or family values. Well, that has to be reflected in the business, because if it's not, there's always going to be that friction and you're not going to enjoy the business at all.
Yeah. My vision is I want to create environments where people I care about thrive. First, my family, my team, and then my clients. And so, but that came from inside of me, and I didn't get that overnight.
And that wasn't your first shot at it, right?
I stewed over that for like a year and a half, and
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was doing something wrong, because I couldn't really come up with it. But I always kind of was like, man, I'm not a big visionary guy. And finally, once I was like, it just took me longer than others. And that's fine. But I do think our listeners need to think about, why are you doing this? Because ultimately, if you're like, you know what, I just want to do my craft, then you should go work for someone else who you can really do your craft. But if you want to be a business owner, you do need to have a little bit more deeper why than just do the work. You know, and my boss was a dum-dum.
And my boss was a dum-dum, and now I'm a dum-dum.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've been that guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And listen, it's okay to not have a vision. As you said, it took you a while to get there, but my vision is to make money. Okay. How are you going to do that? I need to hire more people. Okay. So your vision is to make money and hire a team? Yeah. Well, what kind of people what kind of team do you want? I want to have a team of people who X, Y, Z. Okay. Well, there you go. You're starting to work on it. But the key to this is understanding that being a business owner is more about asking great questions than it is having answers to everything. Right. And we learned that from the E-Myth Revisited in Michael Gerber's book. Have you read that before? It's fantastic. He's got that 3 mindsets of a business owner. There's the entrepreneur that's only looking towards the future.
Mm-hmm.
There's the manager who's only looking towards the past. And then there's the technician who's only dealing in the day-to-day. That's a very reactive place to be, and it's tiring. But that entrepreneur mindset, which is where people like myself, and it sounds like you, come in, that's where you create. That's where you build the business into the future.
Yeah, and it's a dance with those 3 roles.
Yeah,
dance.
And
a strong company has all those 3 in the right position. Okay, so people are important. Do you have an example? I'm curious if you have a case study, if you will, of anyone who has done some of these principles that we're talking about, vision and being able to see the future.
I mean, so many examples. You know, I've been blessed to be a business coach now since the year 2000. Turn of the century, right?
Did they have internet back then?
Only one. They only had one internet back then. Yeah. We still had fax machines. You know, but I mean, I remember getting a phone call. We were driving. My family and I were driving. I got a phone call, and it was one of my podcast listeners saying, Dom, I just crossed the $400,000 mark, and I wanted to thank you. I'm like, okay. The kids are in the car. Daddy, who's that man calling you, right? But he had a problem employee in the company that was holding him back. Mm-hmm. Dial this forward a couple of years, he becomes a client. After he crosses the $1 million mark, his treat, I guess he looked at it as a treat. He's like, I'm going to hire Dom, right?
Nice.
He's now doing over $3 million. He's bought another property. So he bought his original property, bought another property. That property is a storage facility. He's got passive revenue coming in from that. He has another side business, and he's now a business person who just happens to run the shop.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so people are our biggest asset. You know that. It's not your truck, it's not your trailers, it's not your shop. People are the most important thing in business. So how do you make sure that you're developing your people, that you're getting the right ones on the bus, all those kinds of people questions? What do you think?
Oh, you know, so much of it starts with me as the business owner. It's not an easy question. It's a constant work in progress. But it really comes down to, what are my values? What do I stand for? And the reason I say that is I can't hire somebody who has friction with my values. So let's use one that's relatively neutral. Let's say one of my values, deeply held values, is fitness.
Okay.
Right? So I don't drink, I don't smoke. So let's just say those are the 2 things that really define who I am. Well, if I go hire a bunch of people that drink and smoke, we're always going to be at odds, because I'm always going to look at them a little differently. Mm-hmm. Now, if I do drink and smoke and I hire somebody who's a teetotaler and who lives this pristine lifestyle, I'm always going to be like, that guy. So, but it's whatever company you're running, it's your company. You get to make it what you want, but it is going to reflect you.
Yeah.
And so it really comes down to what my values are first. So once I establish what that is, and you could say, look, I just want people who are good workers. Okay. But do you want a good worker who also swears like a sailor on site?
Yeah.
No? Oh, okay. Well, then you do have some values that you want to uphold, right? So first you have to understand what it means to be part of your team. And then I have to start saying and understanding why you should be proud to be on this team.
I have a thing I tell my guys a lot, and your job is 2 jobs. The first job is doing the work, the technical work, right? Obviously. Yeah. And the second job is being a team player. And we got this from Patrick Lencioni's Ideal Team Player, which we read as a group. And because if you're really good at your job, the first job, the technical skills, but no one likes you, then that's no good.
This
right?
isn't going to fly.
But if people love you, but you're so incompetent, that's not good either. So it's completely equal. And so it's on our wall, like two sides of the technician is both are equal. And so sometimes if someone gets out of line from a quality standpoint, we say, you're not doing your job. And someone gets out of line and no one likes them, they're being annoying or they're doing something inappropriate emotionally in the culture, we say, hey, you're not doing your job because you have two jobs.
So what's interesting, and tell me if I got this right, but you establish what the rules are for being on your team, and then you're willing to stand up and point to the wall and say, hey, remember these two rules that we talked about when you first got hired? No, wait, when I first interviewed you? No, wait, in the ad I wrote that attracted you, these were the rules.
Right.
I don't say that. I'm not banging them on the head with a sledgehammer, but it's pretty obvious. We have a handful of simple rules and we repeat ourselves a lot.
You don't get what you preach, you get what you tolerate.
Yeah.
And so if you don't keep pointing back and say, you said you would do it this way or not, that's a problem. And so people are the most important. They're also the most frustrating at times. That's what business is all about, is the people you serve and the people that serve your people. So, Dom, this is a great conversation. I want to pause for a moment to talk about Jobber. So Jobber helps me scale my business. And one of the main reasons they help me scale is by having optional line items on the quote. So you can have an anchor item. This is what the client asked for. And then you can say, but we can also do this, this, and this, and make them all optional. They get the quote, and they can say, you know what, that's a good idea. I'll have them wash my windows too, wash the driveway, but I'm not gonna do that one. And then it tallies at the bottom, and you just turned a $500 quote into a $2,000 quote. Jobber makes it easy to scale, and that's why you need Jobber. New users can get an exclusive discount at jobber.com/podcast deal, and get that exclusive discount and go start scaling your business today.
Another client story, and I'm not at liberty to share his name, but I want you to get a visual of this guy. Think of Rambo, Sylvester Stallone. Now imagine that he had an older, angrier cousin. Okay, that's my client. This gentleman could not whisper to save his life. And it was a difficult process for him to change. He didn't finish high school. He runs a multi-million-dollar architectural millwork firm.
Wow.
Multi-million-dollar. And he didn't finish high school. But one day he was going through this frustrating piece in his business where we were trying to align the people to their values. And he sort of blurted out, he goes, Dom, I get it. My people are my tools. Like he got to that point, but only going through this really fine filter that he understood that his people are his tools, just like you said.
Yeah. You also need good information to build a big business. Go from 400,000 to 2 million. You need to have good information. What do you mean by that?
Well, listen, you have to be the kind of company that counts things. You have to measure things. Jobber's great for that because we can measure all of the things there. The KPIs just come out of it as long as we put the good information in there.
Yeah.
Just take the very top of the software, the CRM. How many inbound leads did we get? What was our conversion rate? How many deals? Those are all important. Once I start to measure those, I can manage them. And I don't want to sound like I'm quoting another book, but I can't manage what I can't measure. And so measurement becomes really important. One of the measurement things that a lot of us overlook is thinking that we need a 100% conversion rate. Every customer I talk to buys from me. That is not good. You do not want a 100% conversion rate. The only people who have a 100% conversion rate are doing illegal things, right?
Yeah.
One of them is selling drugs. You can guess what the second one is, right? So we don't want a 100% conversion rate. We actually want some people falling off, and that's why it's called a funnel.
Yeah.
So just measuring things really allows you to find the nuggets in your business.
Yeah. And this is a big one, processes. If you want to go from 400,000 to 2 million, if you're sloppy small, you'll be sloppy big. If you're sloppy at 400,000, just wait till you're 2 million and you're still sloppy. So you have to have a really strong foundation, standard operating procedures, manuals. This is how we do it here kind of things.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I 100% agree. And actually, you said it really well, so I'm going to say it in reverse so it sounds like I did it first. Let's say that you're running a business, and let's just use, for an example, your business is doing $1 million a year. But I call it fluttering around the edges. Like you just can't keep control of things. Or you're stuck at $1 million. Last year you were $1 million. This year you're 1.1. You figure this year you're going to do 1.2. You're really not growing. The problem there is most likely your systems, because you're running that $1 million business on $750,000 systems. So you've maxed out those systems. You actually need, and this is the crazy part, this is the business coaching part, folks. You don't need to go to $1 million systems anymore. You need to take that $750,000 system and imagine it as a $3 million business so you can pull yourself through that next bottleneck.
Yeah. And those systems do so much. Obviously, they reduce chaos and bring order to your organization.
Yeah.
They also make it better for your employees. Like your team doesn't want to work in like a crazy
Chaos.
zone,
Nobody
right?
wants chaos.
No one wants that. They don't want to show up to work and, hey boss, where are we going to today? They don't want that kind of stuff. They want to have a plan. They want to have an app like Jobber that allows them to see what the job is today. They want to have apps that are professional. They want to have a nice fan and good uniforms. All those kinds of things go into building a company that's not it's not sloppy. It has order.
Just runs well.
Yeah, it just runs well.
Yeah.
As a business owner, that's what you want. And so in order to do that, you have to have some systems in place and processes. And we throw that word around so much, right? Processes and systems. But give me like a really concrete example of just a system in place in a business.
A very simple system.
Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine though that every business is a little bit sloppy. And so we're always working on systems.
That's right.
So the very first thing I'd encourage every business owner to understand is you're always going to be chasing the next bottleneck. You're always going to be chasing a system that's broken.
Yeah.
Right? So let's understand that first. That's a change in mindset. But a simple system is let's start with a script for any inbound lead.
Great.
This is how we answer the phone. This is how we take the initial information. This is what we say. This is what we get. This is what we enter if you're using the software. There's a simple system, right?
Yeah.
You might also have a dispatch system. You might have how a job ends system.
Mm.
Here's another one that's great for marketing. Here's the system for the foreman to go talk to the neighbors on the first day of the job.
Mm.
If you've got a great system for that, your customer service complaints are going to go down and your referrals in that neighborhood are going to go up.
Right.
Because the foreman came, gave them a card, said something very simple like this. Hey, we're going to be working next door. We're only doing the gutters, but this seems like a very close-knit neighborhood. You're probably wondering if you see trucks you don't recognize. So that's myself and my crew working next door. If you have any questions, here's my card. Give me a call.
Yep.
And the person will say, well, thank you for letting me know. And you do gutters? Can you just maybe, and boom,
Right.
Your system is making you money.
Another common system is the handoff between sales and production.
Oh,
And so what drives everyone crazy is the
Yeah.
day of the job. Hey, who sold this job? Hey, get him in here. Tell us what we're doing here. That's not a system. That's chaos.
that is.
The production team should be able to fulfill a job even if the salesperson is on vacation. And you can't call them. You can't
Yeah.
call the salesperson on vacation. And so, but that's not easy. That does take work to make sure that the quote was prepared properly, that all the due diligence was filled out, and it's all accessible to your production team so they can say, yeah, we're just doing this job. Easy. Let's go. We're ready to go. We don't need that guy.
Yeah. Can I add to that? It's kind of a funny little add-on. One of the other coaches on my team came from the painting world. So he turned around painting companies, expert, really good guy. So what he did when they sold deals is in the notes that they handed on to the production team, they said, this is the potential upsell on this job.
Yes.
Like we talked about painting the garage, just as an example, or painting the doghouse, something else, right? But the other thing that does is it eliminates change orders.
Yeah.
Because if the production foreman knows going in there that the garage is only going to cost an extra $1,200, when they show up on site, they can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, while we're here, why don't we just,
Yes.
it's only $1,200 more, instead of Mr. and Mrs. Jones saying, hey, listen, can you guys just work through lunch? I'll give you another $400, do the garage.
Yes.
So we switch around. So now you've got another system that pays for itself. So I'm so glad you brought up that point.
Yeah. One of my biggest pet peeves, I can ask my team this, is bad communication. It's one of the worst things. It's one of our core values. And so in terms of communicating internally, let's focus on internal communication first,
Sure.
and then we'll talk about client communication if there's time. Internal communication. How do you handle making sure that we communicate properly and that we're not just grunting at each other? Because that's what usually happens in home service.
Yeah. So let me ask another question and not pretend that I know the exact answer. In what case? Give me an example or a scenario.
So a great example is, I love the upsell example that you just gave a little bit ago. Hey, by the way, when you guys go out there, make sure you upsell this because we talked about painting the doghouse. But the guy's on vacation. So why didn't you put that in the notes? I didn't feel like it, right? I forgot. And that's poor communication.
Yeah, that's poor communication. But I'll tell you what, if the foreman gets compensated on the upsell of that garage,
Right.
he's going to be pretty happy that's there. And if the salesperson still gets a little bit of compensation, even though the foreman got it, there's some motivation there. In my mind, and you brought up a great point, in my mind, I can see the form. And the form says, what are the upsell opportunities here? That's the form that the foreman is, the production form.
Yeah.
Right? Who's the
Your
crew?
checklist.
How much do we need? We're talking about paint here. So what kind of paint, materials, solvents, accessories, and all that. But there should be a section on there that needs to be filled out. If that's not filled out, somebody has to answer for that.
Yeah.
And so this is where we've got the handful of small rules. I then call the guy back. He comes back from vacation. I'm like, look, on the Jones job, you didn't fill in that part. And so we ended up having to do a change order on that job. That's not what we want. So, how do we get through that next time? So now, but now we've got something. You talked about communication. We have common language and we have one very specific thing to look at. It's easy to fix.
If Masters of Home Service has been a game changer for you and your business, then we want to hear from you. Go leave us a review and tell us what you think. Help us build this community and level up together. Another example is technicians are at the house. Maybe they're doing a job downtown and they call the office and say, we can't do this job today. Why not? There's road crews blocking the way. We can't get to the house. Okay, fine, we'll come back later. That's poor communication. Good communication is, there's not any other roads in. Well, I didn't look around for other roads. I just stopped.
Right.
Well, go look. Before you call me, we're communicating. We have to talk about all these different scenarios. You can't just say, we can't do this job.
Right.
There's a little problem solving in that example too. Yeah. But I'm just a big fan of making sure that internally, another example is guy comes in a bad attitude. And he's just wearing it on his sleeve, his face. It looks like he walks in. It looks like he's just in bad mood. That's communicating. And if someone doesn't say, hey, dude, go back outside.
Come on back in
again. Try again. Yeah. Because we deserve to come into a place where you're not doing that. You're not sulking. And I don't care if you got in a fight with your girlfriend or your wife. Like, you have to pretend you're in a good mood when you come here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know what? It takes constant management. There's a lot to building a team that we can learn just by getting out there as owners and starting to study it. There's something called the internal or external locus of control, which is the most boring title of a scientific paper ever written. But there's also a book called the Oz Principle, which is the same thing. And it talks about being above or below the line. Have you ever heard of this concept?
No, tell me.
So you're going to recognize it right away. There's people who are above the line and people who are below the line. People above the line, there's an easy acronym that we use. It's PROVE, P-R-O-V-E. People below the line, there's an acronym too, and it's BENDS, B-E-N-D-S, right? Okay. And so people above the line are winners. People below the line are, you didn't do it. It's whiners. They're whiners, right?
Yeah.
So people above the line are proactive, right? They take responsibility. They take ownership. They have some sort of vision, and they're consumed with excellence. They want to be great. So in your case, they would have said, hey, we got blocked on that road. We're going to be late getting to the house because we had to go take another bridge and a toll to get there, but we got there.
Yeah.
That's solving it, right? But the people below the line, this is what they sound like and look like. Blame, excuses, negative, denial, scarcity. Do you feel the energy get sucked out of this room?
Right.
So if I allow that person on my team who places blame, makes excuses, they're negative, it's cancer for the rest of the team. That person has to change their ways or change their job.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's 100%. Up to me to change their ways, but I also should not have hired them if they had those characteristics.
Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about bottlenecks, I should say, because as the owner, I think we're the chief bottleneck hunter. We need to go and just kill bottlenecks.
Yeah.
Usually I'm the biggest bottleneck, so I don't want to kill myself, but we need to find and identify where there are these bottlenecks that are slowing things down and creating kinks in the system.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. We call those profit leaks in the business. And imagine there's 8 of them. Imagine those 8 profit leaks are like paving stones. You know, those big, nice slate paving stones that you see when you go to a golf course, walking up to the pond. Well, every time you pick up one of those stones, there's going to be a bottleneck underneath that. The change in attitude we need is that we have to proactively go pick up the rock. It's going to be there. But after we solve it, put down the rock, you solve that little bottleneck. In our case, let's say it was the attitude problem or the showing up on time or something like that. But then I'm going to go pick up the next one. And I know for certain there's another bottleneck. I'm a bottleneck hunter. I've never used that. I like that. But it's my job as the business owner. Yeah. I've got to go find those problems and fix them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dom, this was great. I'm going to try to boil our entire conversation down to 3 actionable takeaways here. Number 1 is vision matters. Knowing your why matters. The difference between $400,000 in revenue and $2 million usually comes down to the vision and the why. You have to have an internal motivation. Number 2 is make sure you're doing values-based hiring. You choose who you let in the building. Make sure they fit your personality, your values, and all those things, because if there's somebody in your building you don't like, you're the problem, not them, because you let them in. And number 3, bottlenecks are profit leaks. Go bottleneck hunting. Dom, I also liked when you said, adding upsell potential to the job
Such
form.
an easy
I like
system.
that.
Yeah.
idea.
How long would it take everybody listening to just go to their form and add that section and make that the training for this week?
Yeah.
And then stick to that one thing for the next month. Like just make sure everybody's doing that.
I love
that little
that.
nudge in your revenue is going to go straight to profit.
Upsells are awesome. I love upsells. Dom, this was fantastic. Thanks for being here. How do people find out more about you?
Oh, well, as they say in the social media world, if you can't find me, you just ain't looking. But I have a podcast as well. It's called the Profit Tool Belt Podcast, and you're going to be a guest on there, as you know. So you'll see Mr. Sylvester on that show. But what I was thinking during the show is if somebody wants to see that profit leaks, because there's 8 profit leaks in any contracting business, just reach me through the podcast. There's a website. It's called profittoolbelt.com, because I'm not that creative. Just go to profittoolbelt.com, hit the contact link, and then just send me the keyword profit leaks. And then I'll send you, it's a worksheet. Like it's a little workbook. You print it off yourself and then you work through what the 8 profit leaks are. And you're going to find revenue opportunities in your business that all relate back to profitability.
Sounds great. I love that free resource. Well, Dom, I think you're doing a great job. Keep coaching, keep teaching, keep training, keep making an impact. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thank you for listening. I hope you heard something that will make your business more profitable and more efficient and will help you scale. I'm your host, Adam Sylvester. You can find me at adamsylvester.com. Your team and your clients deserve your very best, so go give it to them.